Here at Robo Toy Fest 2021 with the boss, Loryn Stone. Loryn, how'd everything go today?
Dude, it is so nice out here. We are so grateful that people are ready to come out, that everyone's doing it safely, that people just want to have a good time and collect toys and celebrate conventions again. And so it's been really, how do I put it? It's been a little bit uncertain in this climate, not knowing what to expect, but we're absolutely thrilled by the results.
Go ahead and say a couple words.
Hi, this is Francois Chow.
Perfect. Here at Robo Toy Fest 2021 with, dare I say, an international man of mystery.
Sure, why not? You can call me that.
Here with actor Francois Chow.
That's it.
A little bit of context. You played the notorious villain Shredder in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. That was Secret of the Ooze. You played Quick Kick in the Sunbow series G.I. Joe.
You see, you're going way back now. Yeah, both of those are been a while, but yeah.
When I've talked to actors about that Sunbow series being involved, usually they say that it not only launched careers, but lifelong friendships. What would you say about the Sunbow series?
Well, I think my introduction into that series was pretty much, that was my first gig when I got to Los Angeles, and my first voiceover gig. So pretty much thrown into the deep end of the pool, as it were, because I showed up and there's Keone and all these other voice actors who have been, who've been doing it for so long and are masters at it. And I was just like, point me in the direction and just tell me what to do, and I'll try to do it, kind of thing.
That's fairly modest. I do know people love Quick Kick.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun part, and I guess my ability to do bad impressions of, wow, it's been so long now that I don't think people even remember what those movie stars were, like Humphrey Bogart or guys like that.
True. You even had time to sneak in an episode of the sci-fi cult classic The Invisible Man. Am I right?
Yes. I was remember that? I think I was sort of like the Chinese James Bond
that works.
that showed up. Yeah.
Hey, there's Invisible Man fans out there. You can't see them, but they're out there.
Yeah. I just saw him last month at a Costco.
Why not? I think any fan of mysteries knows you from Lost.
Yes.
Was it Dr. Marvin Candle or Edgar Halowax?
Edgar Halowax or Mark Wickman. I think if the series had gone on, they would have had to think up of some more names with wax and candle and all that stuff in there. But
well, I gotta ask, were you a fan of mysteries before you worked on Lost?
Yeah. It was. I'm a big fan of most stuff: sci-fi, westerns, anything. I'm a huge television fan, huge movie fan. I've probably watched more stuff than most people will ever watch.
Well, I mean, obviously opinions are going to vary, but The Hatch, the videotapes, that was peak Lost. What, your opinion?
It's one of those things that come along that I just sort of kind of ride the wave, because I didn't really. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Well, kind of. I'll just do whatever they tell me, and
whether it was the videotapes or the journals that ended up in the middle of a field.
Right.
That was a gut punch, wasn't it?
That was that was like, what is happening? Why is he discarding?
I can tell you this, that my family watched every episode. I was reading the books Sawyer was reading. It was bad.
Oh, wow.
I know. Let me ask you this. Being born in Cambodia, living in Vietnam, I'm going to do this off memory. Africa's in there.
Yes.
France is in there.
Yes.
And now here you are on the West Coast. Take your time on this one. You can be esoteric if you like. What's the greatest mystery you've solved on that journey?
I guess the greatest mystery is that why me? Why am I lucky enough to have had all this stuff?
All voices on the record are considered high profile by Cobra Command. Welcome to the final level.
Here at Long Beach Comic Con 2019 with Greg Baldwin, an actor. You've done the voice for a Jedi Master?
I have indeed. I was Master Terrace Nube in Clone Wars, and I was a bunch of characters in Clone Wars. I was a space pirate in Clone Wars. I was a bounty hunter.
And I was Jedi Master Terrace Nube as well.
There it is.
That is, and you know, there's a trick to this voice. Because this voice, if you listen to it closely, frequently when you're voice acting, people will start off with an impression of another actor. And all I say, listen to Terrace Nube and then go back and watch the very first 2 Harry Potter movies and listen to Richard Harris as Dumbledore, and you will definitely notice the similarities.
You're definitely making friends right now. You've also been the voice of Aku on Samurai Jack.
That is correct. Yes, foolish mortal, that is correct.
That's some heavy lifting. But I have to ask you about a voice that you did in a city that people have never forgotten. You were Frank Fontaine, the pivotal antagonist.
That is correct.
In BioShock, which was Game of the Year several times over.
I honestly, I think BioShock is quite possibly one of the greatest games, if not the greatest game. My only regret, as I was telling you, I was never able to play the game. Everyone else gets to play the game because I had recorded it and I already knew about the twist that was coming. And I would love to have been able to play the game and then gone, oh my God, I can't believe it. Atlas is Fontaine. Oh, spoiler alert. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I know.
Just for a second, take your mind back to Rapture. I know Fontaine was always trying to work an angle, but what do you remember about the streets of Rapture?
It was ominous, claustrophobic even. You might describe it as such. But it was a good place to do business.
Cujo on Joe. Got it right this time.
Yeah, you did.
G.I. Joe podcaster. Also a staple at Golden Apple Comics.
Staple.
A few years back, you said that you were on top of your podcast game.
I was.
But when I see you now, it appears your powers have doubled.
Double. That means I didn't understand the heights of my game. I appreciate that. I feel good, yeah.
Obviously breaking off G.I. Joe podcasts. Lately, you've covered Snake Eyes Origins.
We did. We did.
Snake Eyes Dead Games.
Snake Eye, yes, I did.
Which is one of the, and of course, we're going to throw a link to those pods. That's an amazing podcast, brother.
Thank you. I've gotten some good feedback on that. I appreciate you saying so.
And of course, we did get Extreme.
Extreme!
Nice.
Yeah.
Modern G.I. Joe, right?
Yeah.
What have they not gotten right?
Are we talking toys or are we talking movie? Because there's a lot going on right now. The overall rightness is that there's a lot to talk about. So let's start positive. There's a lot to talk about, and that's exciting. There's toys, multiple lines of toys. There's the movie. There's a new cartoon supposedly happening. They're talking about doing the TV show with Lady J. Who knows? So that's all good.
You're talking like a consumer. Talk like a critic.
So, well, yeah, individually like a critic, there have been, some misfires. I think the availability of the toys is disappointing. To not have those toys on shelves in mass quantities when the movie comes out is disappointing from a growth perspective.
Let's talk narrative side. Whether we're talking a Dead Game.
Okay.
Well, what is one thing that they have to get right about Joe for it to work for you?
It needs to be about Joe versus Cobra. Like going back to the basics of it, going back to the roots of it. Let's get some Joe versus Cobra stuff going on. there's a desire to want to branch out and get, do all these side villains and side stuff and new this and new that. But you know what? Joe versus Cobra is what sells me on the brand. And seeing them foil each other and seeing these wild personalities clash, on a one-to-one level, that's what works for me.
I think what puts me off is I don't need to know the origin of Snake Eyes, but if you want to go Tiger Force, well, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, we're talking movie. That's still not the origin of Snake Eyes. Just to broad stroke it. That's still not the origin of Snake Eyes. You end up with a dude who has about a week's worth of ninja training and is named Snake Eyes. He's not scarred. He's not, as far as we know, he doesn't have any commando training. He's given that suit in the last 10 seconds of the movie. But come on.
It's not enough.
It's not Snake Eyes. It's a story about a dude who ran around with some ninjas for 2 hours, which was a fun movie. It was fun. The performances were actually really, really great. But I can't consider that an origin of Snake Eyes.
I think when I'm looking at the brand nowadays, they seem to be obsessed with the same 5 characters every time.
Yes, that's a huge problem.
For me, on the Joe team, the 100th person on the roster is as dangerous as the first person.
They are. I asked this of a friend of mine who knows a little bit about a little bit, and the basic idea is if you can't get the big ones to sell early, then the lines, whatever the product is, whether it's a new Funko line or a new miniature figure line or a die-cast line, they always start with those main guys because those need to sell well in order to dive deep into the roster. That may or may not be true, but it is disappointing because we just keep seeing the same dudes over and over and over again.
I get that they want to play up archetypes, but it seems like counterintuitively, G.I. Joe is one of those brands where you can go deep cut.
You should.
The biggest seller in recent history was a comic about an undercover agent, Chuckles.
Chuckles. Oh yeah, that Chuckles stuff was great. Yeah, why? Here's a question for real. Why wasn't Chuckles? We're 27 characters in. If you're paying attention to what the fans love in the last 10 years, that Chuckles storyline lit everybody up. Chuckles should have been one of the classified characters. You get an Agent Chuckles in there as an undercover G.I. Joe guy, that's huge. That's a great figure. It's a great looking figure. You could even do the Zartan thing and give him a couple face masks or something like that, But Chuckles would be a great character. The fact that they did Barbecue is awesome. That was a good step in the right direction, and see Breaker, to touch on those originals. But yeah, there's such a deep roster. Where's Shipwreck?
Where's Toilet Teal?
Where is Toilet Teal?
Where's Old Style?
Where's Old Style? Where's where's Shipwreck? Where's Bazooka?
Last time I checked, we're in the trenches right now, brother. I'm ready for that movie. But you did mention Zartan. I don't want to leave out the Dreadnoks. So
yeah.
Why don't we go back to simpler times?
Accessing archive data 2019.
Previously on Joe on Cujo?
Joe on Cujo on Joe.
Thank you for sorting that out.
Cujo on Joe. Cujo on Joe.
Dude, you're fresh off of a tour de force of a podcast.
Thank you.
Known as
Cold Slither Behind the Rock.
That's not only an achievement of narrative, but coordination, am I right?
Yes, yeah. We 15 voice actors. Including Morgan Lofting herself, the Baroness.
There it is.
From 4 different continents.
That's right.
5 different countries. I try to get as authentic Australian, authentic English. Our friend Ross, who played Buzzer, is literally from the town that Buzzer is from. So I'm like, of course, you're doing your hometown accent. Yeah, so plus we had live music for the band, Hot as Hell out of Chicago. They just destroyed with their cover of Cold Slither. I mean, it was, I'm really proud of it. I hope everyone enjoyed it and shared it and passed it along. It was a real labor of love.
Definitely got spun on social media.
For sure.
Also including Steven Jubber.
Yeah, Steve Jubber from
G.I. Joburg.
G.I. Joburg was my Zartan.
carrying on that legacy.
When I was working on it, I was literally working on my casting, and I was surfing the internet trying to figure out who was playing what. And one of the Joe Berg videos came up, and I heard him doing Zartan, and I was like, well, I know Steve. Of course he's going to be my Zartan. Of course he's going to be my Zartan. How can he not be Zartan?
It was a nice reach.
Oh, he was great.
What about the come down though? You have a victory, but you're an indie creator, which means that
It's about the next hustle, man. It's about the next hustle. I know. For me, creatively, and this goes back to everything. I've drawn. I've made my own. It's like self-published comics. Like I did comic strips in college. I actually like the learning of the new, and so I like to do something a little different every time with every project because we only have so many in us. You know what I mean?
yes.
So yeah, I'm really excited about doing something a little bit to the left, but also I really think Joe and Joe fans are going to enjoy it. It's more world building, let's put it that way.
One more time for the cheap seats. Where can people find you online?
Oh man, go to @JoeOnJoePod on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Here at Robo Toy Fest 2021. This is not the first time we've spoken. How you doing, Jamie?
Good. I'm doing well. Thank you.
I think it's been 2 years since we've chatted. You've done tons of Joe art. We've spoke on it.
Yeah.
And an artist can do great work, but it's not always going to arrive if there's not a good team. And every time I've talked to you, you've always had a partner with you.
Yeah. This is Erin, my wife.
/slave driver.
She cracks the whip all the time.
Yeah, I keep him chained to his table. That's how we get all this Joe art.
Yeah.
Solid. My questions are short, but convention life, how has it treated you over these many years?
I mean, I married into it, so it was kind of a given, I guess. But with him in the industry, it's fun. We have our con family and we do shows. It's a lot of work, but we love it.
It's so exciting.
It's exciting.
So waiting for the Christmas card, guys. Last question.
You wouldn't want to see our Christmas card from there. It was me in my underwear on a Wampa rug.
Oh my God.
Well, you're kind of selling me, brother.
Yeah, it really was.
It was fabulous.
Life with an artist. Put a couple sentences on it.
That's all you.
We keep different hours. Like, he hates it that I go to bed at 8 o'clock because I get up at like 6 a.m., but he's up until 5 a.m. drawing and then he sleeps.
And then wakes me up at 6 a.m.
And then I wake him up.
Why aren't you getting up? Why aren't you getting up? I don't know, because it's up till drawing.
So it's different, especially with someone who's self-deprecating like Jamie, who hates all of his own stuff. And he's like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And I honestly say every time, I think it's amazing. And he's like...
There's plenty of people out there that hate it too. Not just me.
But he's like, you need to give me your honest opinion. And I'm like, my honest opinion is that it's amazing. Like, you wouldn't be working in the industry if your stuff wasn't good.
I'm going to tell you right now, that's the worst thing that like a family or a friend can do when you ask them for opinion on work is blow smoke up your ass because you don't get better. If you don't get an honest critique about something.
Listen, you're legally blind in one eye and you're still drawing all the stuff that you're drawing. So, I mean...
Which means I have one eye. It's not like I'm drawing in 3D.
No, but still, I mean, he wears a patch over his left eye to be able to see. Yeah, sometimes blue painter's safe. That's another story.
Just trying to be Snake Plissken. I get it. Guys, it's been a pleasure. How many times have we chatted? 4?
Oh,
yeah, 4 or 5.
Every con, I think, right?
Maybe. Then other than just this place, we've run into each other.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Always.
Jamie
it's good to finally be back and see everybody.
Sure.
Right?
Jamie Sullivan, cover artist, G.I. Joe.
You were a master.
Yes, sir. Here with Keone Young, a veteran of the game.
Young Joe.
A few years ago, NBC News said, for over 50 years, you were an outsider on the inside of Hollywood.
Yep.
You've done stuff from Deadwood to Dude, Where's My Car? And of course, our favorite, Storm Shadow.
Yeah.
2 questions. In your time, what did Hollywood get right and what did Hollywood get wrong?
Well, I'm really not qualified to answer that. But I mean, I think that the trend now, like if you can recall, let's take something like Star Wars. There was no diversity in the beginning. You had blue people, you had green people, but you had no real people of color. And that was like, if you look at all the science fiction shows about like other planets and other universes, there's like never any people of color, and you people of color were going like, hey, wait a minute, in the universe there's no black people. So finally, like with Black Panther and with all these other things, finally it's evolving into something different. And when I say I've been an outsider, it's because I've been in the business so long and haven't been able to get into those generic shows. So now I'm finally able to, like I did Star Wars Rebels as Commander Sato when they started instituting those kinds of changes.
Final level time here with guest of honor at the Robo Toy Fest 2021, Flint Dille, known as the Games Master.
Well, that was the title of my book. yeah, that was really because of the G.I. Joe episode. But yeah, okay. I'll happily be known as Games Master.
There it is. Your Twitter bio probably says it best. Transmediologist, world builder, Argonaut, narrative alchemist, and sometimes simply just a designer and a writer. But you're also a legacy too.
Yes,
Your
that would be true.
grandpa,
Yeah.
Was the first person to syndicate comics and newspapers back in the 19-teens?
I think that may be true. I had not heard that, so I couldn't testify to it, but that is very possible. He was certainly doing it in the 19-teens.
You've worked on properties like Garbage Pail Kids.
Yep.
Which, of course, I have to ask now your favorite Garbage Pail name.
Oh, it's really, I think Rustin Justin. I don't know why, because we had a guy named Justin that, is a friend of mine. But yeah, probably. Yeah, that was not the high point of my career. It was really an embarrassing fail. But it was an interesting fail, and it was the first time I ever tried to write pure comedy, which led into the next era, which was doing Tiny Toons and Five Goes West.
I think you just summed up my interview career.
Oh, sorry.
Writer on Chronicles of Riddick, Butcher's Bay, which is actually one of my favorite games on Xbox.
Yeah. Wow, that's a great one. It's too bad John Zura-Platten was here earlier. He was the guy I wrote it with. That was a great project. Did a lot of stuff with Vin in that period, but that was the first one, and it was just one of those, those magical projects that it came in, they had a script, Vin didn't approve the script, so they came to us and said, can you fix this? This great producer, Kaz Lazarus, and then Pete Wannett was the producer. And Pete Wannett still produces stuff, and he's one of the best producers ever in the history of the game business. But he pitched it to us, and he said, okay, here's how it's going to work. We can't see the script for the movie Riddick because they won't show it. Universal won't show it. Long after Vin kind of confessed they didn't really have one. But anyway, he said, so we're doing a prequel. It's called about Butcher Bay because there's a reference in Pitch Black to the toughest slam in the world, Butcher Bay. So here's the story. It's the Wannett pitching it to us. Yeah, he's like the Jim Morrison of the game business. Anyway, so Wannett says, okay, here's how it works. In the first scene, Riddick gets captured and put into Butcher Bay. Yeah? Final scene, Riddick escapes from Butcher Bay. You just have to figure out the middle stuff.
Nice.
Okay, that was the pitch. And we did it, and we realized at a certain point that, that this had to be interactive dialogue. This had to be, you had to have choices and had to be an interactive, immersive world. And we really had to, think of it as a massive dungeon and approach it and design it that way. Because I'd done a lot of, D&D designs, right?
Let me put you on the spot with that one. Being a designer of worlds, give me your give me your top gaming worlds that you enjoy that you don't work on or did not.
Oh, that I don't? Okay, so, I never technically worked on Warcraft. I did do D&D projects, so I can't use that. Okay, so gaming worlds, that's really That's really great. You want board games or computer games?
Take it where you want to take it.
Boy, that's a really great question.
There's a couple that are going to put you on the spot.
Oh, I know, good. I love interviews like this, but I'll fumble around a lot, so you just have good editing machine available. I would say that certainly one of the most striking looking worlds I've ever seen was what's that? I'm blanking on the name, but the computer game is set in kind of a sort of a 50s 1984 world. It's like Ayn Rand wrote it. I'm trying.
You know what? If you're gonna say Rapture from BioShock?
No, but BioShock is.
We would have accepted that answer.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Rapture from BioShock. Okay. BioShock had a look
incredible.
It was just fabulous. So I would say BioShock had certainly a world I like the look of. Worlds that I like the way they fit together. And let's say gaming worlds. You can't use Star Wars, you can't use Lord of the Rings, you can't use, it has to be a primary game project. I would say, okay, I'll give you some really sweet ones here. Jak and Daxter and Sly Cooper.
Nice.
Yeah, I just love the kind of the version of Paris or wherever it was, the Sly Cooper that we were in. It was really kind of fabulous, and it had a logic all its own, and it was a fun mix of different kinds of fantasies. I did not work on either of those projects. I did a game called Uncharted later on with the guy that did Jak and Daxter and numerous other things. So I'm a little bit biased, but I was, that was when my kids were coming up. And so I was really aware of the world, and I loved the value system of the world.
Those will kind of lend themselves to a whimsical side. You mentioned your kids. Let me also ask you this one, because it's always on my mind. More immersive sci-fi world, Star Wars or Tron?
Well, okay. Tron to me there was a ton of potential in it that was never fully realized. Star Wars is as immersive a sci-fi universe as you could possibly get into. Now, I am not an expert in them. The Dan Simmons series, there are people who love that world, and I like it. Frank Herbert's Dune world, especially when it was made, was a great sci-fi world, and certainly influential to everything else that came after it.
And someone called the Games Master. It's no surprise you're the creative lead at one of the world's biggest games, Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Which I must say that me and my lady have spent hours running to gyms all around the Bay of Long Beach. So, well done.
Well, bear in mind, I had nothing to do whatsoever with creating Pokemon. Okay? that was a bunch of Japanese people in the 90s or whatever that was. And it was this weird period when I was neither doing that kind of entertainment and I didn't have kids yet. So, I just kind of missed it. I had a great deal to do, I think would be fair to say, with the protocols of geogaming. Because I worked on a game called Ingress, which was kind of our other product before Pokemon.
But wait, there's more. You also find yourself in good company on the regular. A friend of iconic creator Frank Miller. He made you the lone Spartan to escape in the worldwide blockbuster 300 named Dille.
Yeah, Dille, yeah. Frank, who it's possible will show up later on today. I invited him.
Nice.
So if he suddenly comes walking in the door, he'll correct everything I'm about to say. But yeah, no, okay, so there was a really interesting. Let's talk about that from a totally bizarre angle. Let's talk about that in terms of world building. Okay? Because, Frank wanted to do, it goes back, for the beginning of my book, is Frank talking about, we were trying to figure out how to kill Optimus Prime, and he was trying to figure out how Superman and Batman could have a fight. Because he was writing The Dark Knight at that moment, and we were writing the Transformer movie, but Steve Gerber introduced us, who knew both of us. And Frank had just moved to LA. But anyway, and he says at one point, I was saying, I want Optimus' death, in like Davy Crockett and John Wayne's Alamo. And Frank said, have you ever seen a movie called 300 Spartans? And I said, no. And he proceeds to pitch 300 Spartans when he was a kid and watched it, because Frank's a little bit younger than I am. But, he saw that at about the same, I think he's like 11 months younger. He'd act like he's 20 years younger, but that's not entirely true. Anyway, so Frank, starts pitching the 300 Spartans. Cut to a decade later. We're on a boat. It's my wife, Frank's wife at the time, Lynn Varley, who's also, arguably the best colorist in the history of comics, and my wife, Terry. And Terry and I had been working on a thing that never happened, but it was a multimedia Odyssey game, but, doing the Odyssey as a video game, complicated. But anyway, Frank called. I was the only ancient history major I knew, and we were best friends. So he called up and he said, hey, you want to go on an academic cruise through the Greek islands? And it's like, how do you say no to that, And Terry and I were in England at that point. And so we went from England over to Greece, got on the academic cruise, and it's this very small boat, okay? I mean, it'd be like a really big fishing boat, I mean, there are probably 25, 30 people on it. And there are a few people actually sailing on it. Then there were mostly professors and archaeologists and ancient history. Remember, I was an ancient history major in college. Yeah. So, ancient history. For a totally impractical, worthless major, it made my life. So anyway, that could be its whole sub-theme conversation. But that particular day, it led me to the Aegean, and Frank and Lynn and Terry and I rode around. I think it was 2 weeks. And most of the time, I was like sick as a dog. I just had some really bad, viral thing. And but that did not stop us from thoroughly enjoying ourselves. And so we went around, and Frank was looking for stuff. And at one point, we found a real Spartan sculpture, which are extremely rare. I mean, Spartans didn't leave much behind. They weren't the Athenians. They didn't do work in rock. Their houses were wood. And so when they left, there's not much left of Sparta. However, there's this one statue. The statue wasn't, that much. It was about the same size as stuff you'd buy here at RobotCon. And it was a Spartan soldier, kind of like...
This intel has been deemed privileged by Cobra Command.
Frank just said, all right, that's what it looks like. I mean, he did a lot of stuff, but they were the level, and here's what people don't understand about Frank, is the amount of research that he does. By the time he was done with 300, he was, certainly a qualified expert in hoplite, Greek warfare. So we just absorbed, and we were like a couple children. I mean, people think of Frank as this very serious guy and all that, Incredible. But we were like walking around wilting each other's shoes. He's putting "kick me" signs on my back, it was like that kind of trip. And then Lynn, his wife, I remember we had like a 3-hour conversation about the color orange while we're watching the sunset over the Aegean and talking about all the different shades of orange. She's a colorist, right? Nobody else in the world would be interested in talking about orange for 3 hours, but we did it.
Well, the feathers in your cap don't stop there. Legend is Hasbro wooed you to work on G.I. Joe by naming a character after you, Flint.
Yeah, okay. That may or may not be true. I choose to believe that story. That's what Tom Griffin and Joe Bacall were telling me when they were trying to hire me. You have to take the job. We named a character after you. It's like, good, I'm with that. And I certainly did everything I could to promote him. I'm holding, for those of you without cameras, I'm holding a Flint bath soap I have on the table with a bunch of miscellaneous objects I found in my house.
I've talked to many folks that have worked on the Sunbow series, mostly on the actor side, but it seems like they were pretty tight-knit. Having worked on 50-plus episodes in that series, what do you have to do right when you're writing G.I. Joe? What do you have to get right?
Well, I mean, what I'll say for me personally with G.I. Joe, I've never had a project come more easily. I mean, Transformers would be a very different story, but I'm not saying one's better than the other, but one was G.I. Joe. I just like, that just like came out of my pores. Okay, I mean it was your quintessential '80s Reagan era show, you know, and that was a happy era. I mean, leave the political issue out of this. It was a really fun, happy period where everybody was having fun. And with G.I. Joe, Steve Gerber and I, remember Steve was a comic book writer first, and he created Howard the Duck. He was a very funny guy, but you know he was also an animation writer that co-created Thundar with Joe Ruby, who himself co-created Scooby-Doo and was our boss. But anyway, so Steve and I viewed G.I. Joe, and all of here's the deal, all of the elements were there, you know, in Ron Friedman's original miniseries. And what of that was Ron, and what of that was Joe Bacall, and what of it was Tom Griffin, and what of it was Jay Bacall, I'll never know. But, I mean, it was just there. But by the time I got there, they'd done the miniseries, and we were on like the first episode I remember editing was The Germ by Roger Slifer, but I may have edited an earlier ones. That's just the first one where I remember it. And, you know, and we realized pretty quickly we've got to go science fiction, and, you know, we've got to go a little bit fantasy. And both Steve and I wanted to go, you know, we're huge James Bond and Prisoner fans, okay? I mean, those things shaped us, you know, I mean, you know, and, you know, we absolutely, so you had an incredibly wide range of episodes to do. Now, I was a story editor and a producer. You know, now you call it a showrunner by the time they hired. Actually, I started out ghost story editing for Steve, and then they hired me. That was the conversation. And, you know, if the show just to me was really easy. I was saying the only times I'd really write episodes if something went wrong with an episode and we needed one really fast. So pretty much everything I wrote was probably written within 48 hours. But first of all, I just utterly grokked G.I. Joe, and second of all, I had the same sensibilities as Steve, and you know, so it was just easy to do. And I always felt like I wanted to do fun episodes that violated the template.
Well, it appears all roads lead to Robo Toy Fest, as you are the guest of honor. But nobody gets here alone. I suppose as we get near the end, raise a glass to a mentor, a partner, somebody that helped you get here.
Oh, well, I mean, I've already mentioned a lot of them. Okay, I mean, let's just start. For the very beginning of my career, Joe Ruby. After that, throw in Steve Gerber and Buzz Dixon. You know, after that, throw in Gary Gygax and Luke and Ernie as kids. After that, and you know, I mean, I crossed paths with a lot of people in that period, like both Stanley and Jack Kirby, who I didn't work with as much, but certainly worked with. And you learn little bits and pieces from them. George Lucas, I did when I was doing Droids. It's kind of a disastrous experience, but I sure as hell learned a lot from it. Later, Steven Spielberg, when I was doing Fievel. I mean, it's a long list, but I really, like every one of those people. Rob Fulop on games, all of the TSR guys, Jim Ward and TSR guys designing games. Mike Becker. I can go on for about 2 hours, but yeah, and I haven't even gotten. I'm not even to the mid '90s yet. You know, I mean, it goes on and on and on.
It's quite a tapestry.
Yeah.
There is but one more skeleton in the closet. An episode you wrote for G.I. Joe aired mid-December 1985. I believe on the Knowing Is Half the podcast, cheers guys, you said that was an episode that resonated with you. Care to say what?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I just rewatched Skeletons in the Closet for the first time, like within the last year, somewhere during COVID. And maybe before that, because I think I may have watched it for when I was writing the book. But Skeletons in the Closet, if you were to take, what I love about the G.I. Joes that I wrote, personally just wrote, if you were to take everything I like and throw it into one script, it would be Skeletons in the Closet, in that It's a Lovecraft story. It's a spy story, and you got a spooky old mansion. You've got weird backstories. You have military stuff. You have a kind of romance with Flint and Lady J. And of course, Marissa Fairborn was, of course, conceived in that episode, but we left that scene in.
Well, you mentioned the foe, that being your Lovecraftian phase. It's kind of a tentacled creature in the bottom of a well. You say Lovecraftian, it feels a fair bit more elemental to me. Perhaps it's the squid that gets dropped on New York in Watchmen. Perhaps it's the striped chin on Thanos. And maybe it's Starro from the new James Gunn movie, who knows? Everybody's got their favorite apocalyptic tale. Being a ancient history major / classic rhetoric.
Yeah, classical rhetoric. Yeah.
What's your favorite tale about the apocalypse?
Well, real quick on that, the thing that will make you understand Skeletons in the Closet and the Games Master, for that matter, is both of them were written in my office at the Dungeon and Dragon Entertainment Company mansion, which was in fact a converted stable in a mansion built by a filmmaker named King Vidor. And owned at that moment by either Barbara Streisand or Richard Harris. We never knew for sure. But the point is, it was written literally in our D&D design room. So tell us about that. Apocalyptic tale.
I know that's the next one. I'll put you on the spot.
Oh, okay. The Stand. You know, if I had to pick something, you know, I mean, I started reading that, like, my parents were living in Carmel, and I started reading it in the morning before I was driving down to LA, where Highway 46 meets the 5. Okay, that's where you cut over from the 101. It sounds like an episode of The Californians, right? Right in the middle of it, there's a monument to James Dean at Colomay, where he was at his fatal accident. So you drive by the James Dean Memorial marker, and then there's a Denny's right at Lost Hills. I stopped in the Denny's, and it was probably like late morning, right? The sun was going down as I left, and I've been reading The Stand the whole time.
Wow.
At the time, I think I had lunch and dinner there. It was one of those degenerate periods in my life when I was in no hurry to get anywhere. And yeah, that was the best. I mean, everybody from Bruce Springsteen to whatever, and it wasn't really Bruce Springsteen. But, yeah.
Well, you know, they say those summertime colds are the worst all time.
Yep.
At the end of the episode in Skeletons in the Closet, Destro says, "You better hope you never have to see the consequences of your actions." The way the world's acting right now, do you think we might?
Boy, I don't know. I mean, boy, do we find. I mean, it's funny that I'm sitting here at this exact moment at this convention. I'm in the 80s, and I'm realizing I'd rather be there. This is a suck of a period. You know, I mean, what I love about it is, yeah, people are still wearing masks, but they ditch them at every opportunity. You know, this is an ugly end to an ugly period, and I hope something really good's coming. And I think something really good is coming.
I guess the greatest mystery is that why me? Why am I lucky enough to have had all this stuff?
Yeah, sometimes I say this, it takes skills to get lucky. I don't often get to talk to an esteemed member of the Dharma Initiative, so I have to ask this question. Your time on the island, Doctor, did you ever figure out why the sky went purple?
Well, did you ever think that maybe I made the sky go purple?
Nice one, nice one. If you'd be so kind, I don't know if you recall, it's been a pleasure chatting, Francois.
Thank you.
Can
Chris.
you send us off with that Dharma videotape exit?
All right, here we go. You ready? Yeah. On behalf of myself and all of us here at the Dharma Initiative, congratulations. Namaste and good luck.